The curfew is in effect for 1 week. We are in constant communication with the governor and, his team. We're assessing things as they go along. We know that we have, another protest planned for this weekend with the same individuals that were in town when the protest went from peaceful to problematic. We're weighing all of those things.
Can we follow up just on that?
Mm-hmm.
Has anybody been in conversation with Richard Rawlings, just that kind of a meeting in minds to say, look, I don't know if it's possible, but I mean, I understand the background of this individual and this group, but has anyone done that to reach out and say, look, we can't have this again?
So I can tell you, I know of several community leaders who are trying to have those conversations.
Have you had any conversations?
I have not had any direct conversation with them.
Do you think you should?
The type of protest I certainly am open to it. Should or shouldn't, I can't really make that assessment yet. I don't know him well enough to know if hearing from me would incite or would de-escalate the situation. So I can't really say at this time.
Do you have any guidance for businesses, tourists, visitors who might have been thinking about coming this weekend? Should they not come? Should they consider closing in light of what may be there?
What part of the reason why we implemented the curfew was we really wanted to restore order and peace to the city. And our hopes in doing that is by calming things down, we can get back to a sense of normalcy, that businesses can open, people can, residents can feel safe, and visitors can come to our city. And we're working very hard to get there. The challenge with this situation is we know that it is very fluid. So I would, that there have been areas throughout this, all over the city. The majority of the city has not been impacted by this at all. It's very concentrated in spots. So, I think that there will be opportunity to enjoy the city over the weekend, but it's something that is, because it's fluid, people have to monitor. And we'll be, we've been talking with the business leaders in the city, with tourism officials, having these conversations.
Have you had a conversation with the school system? As your office talking to
Constantly.
School system? Yes. So what's the plan today?
Schools are open. I am hoping to be able to visit some schools today. I've talked to students, and they have a lot of concerns about the fact that many people believe that all of our kids are like the ones that we saw acting out on Monday, and they're very disappointed in their peers. And they're very disappointed in the way that they're portrayed, because they love our city and they would never want to damage our city. And I spoke to students at Gilmore Elementary on Monday, and those fourth graders had a lot of pain. And this was before, the looting and things like that. So, my goal is for things to calm down enough for me to be able to make some stops at some schools. There is. I do not have that information. I can make sure that you get it from where we're doing unified command.
So the curfew is in effect for 1 week, and after the end of 1 week, you will reevaluate whether
Yeah. Well, it's not. We are evaluating on a constant basis, to the extent that if it looks like, if today, God forbid, something erupts and it looks like we're going to need more time, we'll let people know. We are trying to do everything we can to keep the public informed of our efforts to bring calm and peace in our city.
you don't expect to lift it before the week.
It is an option on the table, but I can't say today this morning that's what we'll do.
How do you assess the first one? Yes, sir, what's your assessment?
Say that again?
What's your assessment of the first
Of the curfew? Oh, what you're seeing is with the communities coming out and cleaning up, working together, talking to the protesters that are acting out in destructive ways. You saw that yesterday when it got close to curfew time. There were several members of the community that were pleading with people, look, have some respect for these communities. Our communities deserve better. And I think the more, and I think the president spoke to this, President Obama spoke to this yesterday, the more communities come together in working to establish what our norms are, that's not acceptable for us, the sooner, I think, we'll be able to have peace, because it's not just coming from City Hall, it's not just coming from the police department, it's also coming from residents who care about and love our city and want better. I have every confidence that that the state's attorney and her team will be able to make the best decisions. I mean, they're sound attorneys, very professional. I have no question in my mind that we're certainly going to do everything we can to ensure that she's able to make sound decisions and justice. We're able to actually have justice and not just seek justice.
Does she have a timeline?
She has not expressed a timeline yet. And the other thing I want to say is I understand that there is a lot of skepticism and there's a significant lack of trust with the police department, with government. Even some people don't believe that the state's attorney's office, because they depend on police officers for testimony, they don't believe that the state's attorney's office will be fair. What I will say is that's why it was so important to me that we announced up front and early that we're going to have independent eyes, not just on the incident itself, so we can make sure something like this never happens in our city again, but also how we handled the investigation. Regardless of the decision, the prosecutorial decision that's made, we know that there's another set of eyes. And layered on top of that, we know that the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division is also investigating. And we talked yesterday, and they talked about bringing all of the resources they have available to investigate this and to make sure that the opportunity for justice is available at different levels for the Gray family.
Should the public expect some sort of report or disclosure based on the completion of the police investigation on Friday? There's been a lot of talk about what material might be released. Have you discussed that, and do you have any plan for releasing it?
We've definitely discussed it, and the thing that we've been trying to stress in the public is that this is an ongoing investigation. And I was listening to Billy Murphy talk about it with some young people yesterday who were talking about, what's going to happen on Friday. He tried to simplify it by talking about, say if we're playing the Steelers and we're in the middle of a game, you wouldn't give your playbook to, you wouldn't put your playbook online.
Right. Would there be any disclosure, though, of some of the broad outlines, because there's been so many requests for that by the demonstrators, that they want some information? Will there be any on Friday?
So this is the challenge is we have to decide if it's information or justice, and if it's justice, we have to protect the information that will ensure that that the Gray family will have justice. So we have to balance, and it is a frustrating and delicate balancing act between the desire to know, to have the information, and our ability, the state's attorney's ability to seek justice for the Gray family.
So probably there will not be public disclosure of any of the details, or you are not requesting something on Friday?
We have been, putting out information as much as we can in a way that we feel answers some questions. It's not going to answer all of the questions, but again, the goal is not to compromise the investigation. If there is, we've been in communication with the state's attorney's office. If there is additional information that can be released that wouldn't expose the playbook, I'm willing to do that. But
Should we be
again,
expecting it or not? There's been so much talk about it.
well, we're still in discussion, so I
Okay.
can't really, I don't want to jump the gun and tell you something is going to happen or it's not going to happen when this is an ongoing process.
And just with respect to the National Guard, how long do you expect them to stay for this heavy police presence to be on the street?
Yeah, I think this is, we know, again, this is a fluid situation. I know that my expectation is they'll be here through the curfew period, and we will continue to reevaluate on a daily basis.
Mayor, there's been a lot of criticism of Chief Wilson on the streets. People say she's not a woman of people, she doesn't understand our problems. Can you just respond to that?
Yeah, there's a lot of pain in our city, and there's a lot of pain, and when you are in a position like mine, a lot of the frustration is fairly unfairly directed at you. I understand it, but I can say that I do feel the pain in many of these communities. That's why I do what I do. My parents grew up in Baltimore. I grew up in Baltimore. I've had cousins, in jail, on drugs, killed. My brother was almost killed. I have cousins that are extremely successful. I have cousins that are, family that are unemployed. We run the gamut, and I understand the problems. If people, I can't fault anyone for not understanding what's on my heart. I do the best I can to convey through my work and my words that I care deeply about my city and its people. But that's all I can do is my best. If it's not, if it's not received in that way,
And then could you just talk about what is this like for you personally? Just share with us a little bit of their reason to see what you're doing.
I'm curious why that, it's rough, it's horrible, it's heartbreaking. I don't know why that's newsworthy. I'm sure pretty much that's common sense.
I know it's early to ask this question, but have you done anything or have put any thought into maybe how you can reach out to businesses, or have you reached out to businesses that were looted on Monday? A lot of these things.
Absolutely. We have been reaching out to them. And, it's interesting. I've gotten calls from leaders from around the country who have had the impact of, riots, looting, things like that, and have felt the economic impact afterwards and said anything that they can do to help be a bridge between the city and these retailers to try to make sure that they stay in Baltimore, that they're certainly willing to do. We know how hard we fight for resources in our city. If you take a look at the CVS on North Avenue, I spoke to a woman who was in tears because she knew how long they had wanted and needed a store like CVS, and to see it go up in flames for nothing, senseless destruction. It's very painful, and while no one can deny the pain of the individuals who are acting out, we also have to acknowledge the pain that's been inflicted on these communities.
Does that look like a program or anything in particular, or is it just outreach?
It's outreach at this point, but we are coalescing our resources. I've instructed my team to look at what's possible through the Small Business Resource Center. We are certainly working in collaboration. The state has resources as well. There are a lot of businesses that have offered to do work to help rebuild, pro bono. So, there've been a lot of offers to help in the rebuilding process.
Are you thinking of any initiatives regarding what people are saying that the root causes of a lot of the problems, joblessness, lack of education, or that. Are there any new initiatives that you would be sending out to these communities to address some of those issues that specifically have come up?
So I'll answer it in a couple of different ways. With respect to joblessness, I know that the pain and the difficulties of people who have been left behind in our recovery, in our economic recovery. And I know that we have to do more to find ways for our hardest to employ individuals to find employment and to be able to sustain themselves and their families. That's why when our Mayor's Office of Employment Development Director retired, I was very specific about what I thought we needed moving forward, and that's someone who has a track record of being able to find empowering employment for the hardest to employ individuals. So Jason Perkins Cohen is our new director, and he has that focus. That has been his life for the past, I think, 20 years. So we have a renewed focus on this population that is struggling and needs to, I think, a fresh perspective on how we can support the community. We've worked with a group out of Chicago to bring the Magnus Center back to life as the JARC Training Center. It's another opportunity for people where, regardless of their criminal background or their educational attainment, they can seek high-paying, high-wage jobs and, again, sustain themselves and their families legally.
What about just, one of the key questions, all the people who live next to vacant buildings on Fulton North, sanitation, you go through there long before Monday night and the streets tend to be filthy. Any massive cleanup or focus on these communities?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Quality of life questions?
Yeah, and it as far as the vacant homes, I think I stand on my record as a mayor that has certainly outperformed prior years on bringing more vacant properties into productive use through my Vacants to Value initiative. It's not only won national acclaim, but international acclaim as innovative government in a way to deal effectively with the issue of blight in our community. I quadrupled the city's investment in demolition so we could rid the community of these buildings that we know cannot be rehabbed. We created partnerships and programs through Vacants to Value to help turn vacant lots into community green spaces, empowering communities and adding capacity with technical assistance so communities can turn these lots that were once eyesores into beautiful places. So that work is happening all throughout the city and was happening there. The challenge is the larger the problem or the deeper the hole, the harder it is for you to see it when you start filling in that gap. It takes a lot of work to do that.
How is Operation Ceasefire coming along? That was a big initiative a year ago. Is that moving along? Or
Absolutely.
I believe that the director for a while has left the city government.
He has, but the program continues to move forward. We saw a double-digit decrease. I think it was almost 40% in homicides in those areas that we were focused on in the Western District. We saw a lot of progress, and we will be expanding it into the Eastern District. Hopefully this spring, early summer.
So it's moving now.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you about the National Guard issue. It's got a lot of attention. The governor says that he tried to reach you 3 or 4 times on Monday. Monday. Were you hesitant and why?
So first I'm going to say I'm not going to politicize this. I'm not trying to gain any political points for my handling and or the state's handling of this. And I'll say this: there's been a lot of talk of the National Guard as if it's the cavalry coming in to save the city. They don't even have arrest powers. We were focusing on making sure that we were bringing people into the city, and we had been bringing these people in for a solid week from other jurisdictions that had arrest powers that could support us in the work on the street. Every tool isn't a hammer, and everything you see isn't a nail. You have to be able to use the tools in the right way at the right time and assess what's going on. For days we had been adding troops or police officers on the street from other jurisdictions. Prince George's County, I think Montgomery County, Baltimore County, sending us resources that had the power and authority that we needed to get the job done. When the situation changed and we knew that we needed people to be in fixed positions, as the National Guard does, so we could get more of the officers on the street controlling the situation and bringing peace, then we brought them in. I understand. I think it's the one of the benefits of the people jokingly said I've been through everything but the plague of the frogs. I've been through Snowmageddon. We've had earthquakes, we had tornadoes, we've had derechos, we've had floods. I know the anxiety that comes up from having when you were faced with a crisis. I know that he's a new a new executive of anything. So I can understand that anxiety, but I understand I can understand, being anxious about wanting to get in there and to be of assistance. I just am very, I think the best thing I can do is to bring my skills and my experience to bear in situations, and to suggest that we should have had the National Guard in Baltimore on Saturday when we were able to get things under control. What would it look like on Sunday to have the National Guard running through our streets when we had virtually nothing?
I think it's Monday.
No, but my thing is, even if we made the call, so the suggestion is, if I had asked for the order, they would have appeared sooner. It takes hours for them to appear. So is the suggestion that I should have had the National Guard on the streets with submachine guns, armed at the ready to deal with our kids?
No, I think the issue is that this clearly, from the television coverage, which was done through helicopter on Monday, this went from a high school students throwing rocks and started to change between
And as soon as
4 to 6.
it did, we made the assessment of what resources we needed to have on the street in order to bring peace, and that's when we made the call. We've seen all over the country when executives have made the decision to over-militarize and to bring excessive response to a situation. As soon as the situation turned from what was teenagers to more violence and looting, we made that call. We brought the additional tools to the fight. But it is extremely, extremely easy to armchair quarterback and to second guess.
When you use the word anxious, are you suggesting that the governor jumped it up?
I shouldn't say anxious. I'll say that I am sure. Listen, I've been tested. We have been through emergencies in our city before, and I'm pleased that through it all we have gotten very good marks, high marks on how we've handled it. I understand in an emergency you have to be able to make an assessment and deal with things as they're going on the ground. We did our best to make those assessments and bring the right tools the right tools to the fight at the right time. And I think that we did that here. I'm not, I appreciate the governor's support. I'm not going to second guess what he was thinking. It would be nice to have that same courtesy from him, but that's what happens when.
This is an important question on the circumstance. The other thing he said is that he called 3 or 4 times and couldn't get a call back. So what's the level of communication that is going on between you
Our
and
teams,
him?
our teams are in communication all the time. When he's reached out to me, either directly or through his staff, we make sure that we get back to him. In the midst of being in the center, when he has people right there in the center with us, the notion that he didn't get a call back from me directly and that was some concern is absurd when you have people in the room.
Well, I don't know, what do you mean people in the room?
There were state officials as a part of this operation during the whole time.
But you didn't talk to him directly.
Well, that's not true. I did talk to him on Monday, but not initially when he called because we were in the middle of assessing what was going on. Again, his people were in the room while we were doing this. So to suggest that, we were working in partnership with the state. We were working in collaboration with the state. I wish I could have said that as soon as he called, I was able to call him back. But if he had an issue that needed immediate attention, we had people in the room and we arranged for it. We, once things settled down and I was able to schedule a time for us to call, I immediately did that. But, I had people that were working with him. He had people that were working with me. I have good people that are working for me that I trust are communicating what my needs are.
You placed that call to him, was it at roughly 6 o'clock?
I don't remember what the time was exactly.
Can you get that?
I don't know.
Can you get that? Okay.
Yeah, I gotta understand.
So do you have a daily conversation?
No,
Yeah.
not with him, but we are in 24-hour collaboration with the state.
Do you think it's useful to have a daily conversation with him? I understand the politics of this. I understand that. But he has an awful lot of presence in the city right now.
And we're working with the people who are managing those resources on a minute-to-minute basis. We are in constant conversation and collaboration. This is, the state resources are integrated into what we're doing.
Mayor,
Thank you.
all the